All right, review time. This will be on the 2009 World Champion New York Yankees. Strat-O-Matic just released its Diamond Gem set for the 2000s. As always, we get started with the offense. Let's look at the top of the order where you have Jeter 1, Damon 2. You see their on base chance numbers right there. So those numbers are looking pretty good. Now let's look at the middle of the order. Every day hitting third, you had Mark Teixeira. You see his on base chances as well as his hits with multiple base advancement. Now, as you could see, those numbers can go up a little bit based on ballpark effect home runs. That is definitely one thing which stuck out about this '09 Yankee team is there are a slew of ballpark effect home runs on the cards of guys like Teixeira and A-Rod, who you'll see in a minute. And just one quick note about 2009 Yankee Stadium, according to the Diamond Gems book, a home run in Yankee Stadium for both lefties and righties is 1 to 15 on a 20-sided die, which I actually thought the home run for left-handed hitters would actually approach maybe 18 or even 19 because I remember that season very well and balls were just flying out of Yankee Stadium that year. So I'm a little surprised that the home run for a left-handed hitter is only 1 to 15. I thought it'd be higher than that. That's certainly not the highest number that I've seen. I remember as far as Yankee Stadium is concerned. I remember the 1980 full season set of Strat-O-Matic had the ballpark effect home run in Yankee Stadium for left-handed hitters was 1 to 18, and that's the highest number that I've seen yet. So I'm a little surprised that it's only 1 to 15. But nonetheless, those are the numbers you see on Teixeira. Now let me show you the numbers for A-Rod. You see, Alex Rodriguez has excellent on base chance numbers as well. And that's one theme that you're going to see as we go throughout the lineup is that this Yankee lineup up and down the order really has no automatic outs in it. Everyone is very adept at getting on base. I wish the hits with multiple base advancement, I wish on the surface the numbers were a little bit higher and that it didn't rely so much on ballpark effect home runs. But we'll get into that a little bit more when I release my grades for the offense. Now, against right-handed pitching, you had Hideki Matsui hitting fifth and DHing. Matsui also DH'd against lefties, but he hit seventh in the order, so you see his numbers right there. Let me go ahead and show you the numbers now for Posada, Cano, and Swisher. So you see all of their numbers. I'm going to drop a little note about Robinson Cano later on in the video, but you could see these numbers up and down the order are looking very solid when it comes to both getting on base and driving runners in. Last, I'll show you the number 9 hitter, the center fielder, Melky Cabrera, and I'm also going to show you the numbers for backup center fielder Brett Gardner. Just keep those numbers in mind. Not so much for the offense, but I'm going to make a note about the defense later on in the video. So you see those numbers right there. So as I look at the 2009 Yankees offense as a whole, I grade them out with a very good score of a 4.3 out of 5. You can see I gave the on base percentage a very high score. I gave them a perfect score for righty lefty mix and depth in the order. This is a terrific lineup up and down the order, especially when it comes to the fact that everyone has the ability to get on base at a pretty high clip. I also really like the fact that, for example, when you go down the order against right handed pitching, you go Jeter righty, Damon left, Teixeira switch, A-Rod right, Matsui left, Posada switch, Cano left, Swisher switch. So there's really no like cluster of lefties or righties in the lineup. So if you're playing against them and you got some specialists out of the bullpen or whatever, it's really not going to work against this lineup. This is a very deep lineup. It didn't give them a great score when it comes to middle of the order because once again, like I just stated, I wish the hits with multiple base advancement. I wish the numbers on the surface were a little bit higher and that they did not rely so much on the ballpark effect home run. So if you get to 2009 Yankees playing outside of Yankee Stadium, where the odds of the ball going out are not that great, then maybe this offense will have some issues scoring runs, maybe. But overall, I do find this to be an excellent offense based on the fact that they're very good at getting on base. You got some good speed in the lineup with Jeter and Damon at the top of the lineup. And I do really like the fact that you pretty much go right, left, with even some switch hitters mixed in there all throughout the lineup. So that's my grade for the 2009 Yankees offense. They score a 4.3 out of 5. Now let's look at the defense. Everything's checking out pretty good for the 2009 Yankees defense overall. They grade out with a very good score of a 4 out of 5. The outfield defense is a little bit of an issue. When you have Damon, who is a 4 in left, and you have Swisher, who is a 3 in right, as well as you got Melky Cabrera, who is a 3 in center field. So I had to give the outfield defense a score of below average. I gave them a 2 out of 5. However, the E ratings on this team are just outstanding, even in the outfield where you have some issues with the actual grades, as I just spoke on. At least the E ratings on Damon, Cabrera, and Swisher are well in line. You're also looking terrific in the infield with the E ratings. And I don't even mind the Alex Rodriguez 3 at third base. You've heard me speak on this many, many times where I actually take E ratings being way more important when you look at the corner infield spots, first base and third base. And you could see with Teixeira and A-Rod, you have E ratings, which are just outstanding, as well as up the middle with Cano and Jeter. Both of them are twos with very low E ratings. So it's an infield where, let's face it, you could bail out the pitcher a lot by turning a lot of double plays because when you roll the defensive chart and it comes up a split where you have to go to the E ratings. When it's in the infield, chances are it's going to come up a ground ball A, and that is a big, big help. So overall, I got the defense scoring at a very good score of a 4 out of 5, and you can only imagine how much better the defensive rating would have been if the outfield defense was just a little bit better, but I'll speak on that later on. Now let's get into the starting rotation on the '09 Yankees. Let's get started with the ace, CC Sabathia. This was a very easy score for me. He gets a perfect score of a 5 out of 5. Terrific numbers when it comes to getting on base, and he keeps the ball in the ballpark, which, again, to go back to what I stated earlier about the ballpark effect home runs in Yankee Stadium, those ballpark effect home runs, when they're on a pitcher's card, they could really hurt you when you're playing in Yankee Stadium. So those are excellent numbers out of CC Sabathia. Now let's go through the starting rotation depth. Let me show you the numbers for, first I'll show you AJ Burnett. I'll break this up one by one. AJ Burnett actually came out with a little bit of a better card than I thought he would have. His whip was a little bit high in 2009. I think it was around a 1.4, 1.5. So I was a little bit surprised that the on base chance numbers on his card was not a little bit higher. So this was actually a pretty pleasant surprise for me when I saw AJ Burnett's card. And you can see his ballpark effect home runs, it's not a great number, but it's also not going to kill you. So a pretty good card out of AJ Burnett in 2009. You see Andy Pettit's numbers, very solid card out of him, very consistent. None of the numbers for Andy Pettit are great, but for a number 3 starter, this is a pretty good card. Now I'm going to show you the number 4 starter, Jabba Chamberlain. You see those numbers are in the double digits, which I'm not crazy about. And I'm also not crazy about the ballpark effects, especially when you get over a 2. When you reach numbers like 3 or 4 on a pitcher's card, that's where it starts to get a little bit worrisome. So that's what you get out of Jabba Chamberlain. So if I was to look at the starting rotation as a whole, they grade out with still a very good score of a 4 out of 5. I only gave the starting rotation depth a score of a 3 out of 5. But let's face it, if you're sitting down and you're doing like tournament play, with the '09 Yankees, you're going Sabathia on 3 days rest, no matter what. If you're playing like a best of seven, your plan going in is to go Sabathia 147. The starting rotation score would have been a little bit higher if only Jabba Chamberlain's on base numbers were not in the double digits against both lefties and righties. And on top of that, he has a little bit of a high number against right-handed hitters with the ballpark effect home runs. So, but nonetheless, it's still a very good score for the 2009 Yankees starting rotation. 4 out of 5 is an excellent score, and obviously a lot of that is driven by the ace, CC Sabathia. Now let's get into the bullpen. Let's get started with closer Mariano Rivera. You see his numbers right there. The ballpark effect home run number on Mariano Rivera against right-handed hitters, that's going to have to knock his score down a little bit. And it's really too bad because, as you could tell, his on base number on his card is just absolutely terrific. But again, when you reach a number like three, when it comes to ballpark effect home runs, when you're playing in the wrong park, that could be a little bit troublesome. So I gave Mariano Rivera a score of a 4.5 out of 5. Now let's get into the bullpen depth. First, I'm going to show you the numbers for Phil Hughes, who was absolutely terrific for the '09 Yankees out of the pen in the second half of 2009. You see his numbers are checking out very good, and it's also nice that he's a 3 inning reliever as well. Now I'm going to show you the numbers for David Robertson. You see his numbers right there. The numbers against right-handed hitters is maybe that number is a little bit high, but you see he's a right-handed pitcher who is very good at getting left-handed hitters out, so that's something to keep in mind. Let me show you the numbers now for the 10-1 in 2009 Alfredo Aceves, who was just absolutely terrific for the Yankees that year. You see very solid numbers out of him, but again, you have a little bit of an issue with ballpark effect home runs against right-handed hitters. And last, I'm going to show you the numbers for Phil Koch, your lefty out of the pen. Good numbers when it comes to allowing base runners, especially against left-handed hitters, but the ballpark effect home runs is a little bit worrisome. So the one thing that I would maybe suggest doing if you are playing with the '09 Yankees is maybe just try not to use Phil Koch when you're playing a game in Yankee Stadium with the ballpark effect home runs because that number could be a little bit of a issue. And it's because of some of these ballpark effect home runs on the pitcher cards. That is really what kept the '09 Yankees from reaching a 4.5 or even a 5 out of 5 when it comes to bullpen depth because I do really like the cards on the surface, especially what you get out of Phil Hughes and Alfredo Aceves. You could definitely eat up a lot of innings with those guys, but I couldn't give them a score any higher of a 4 just because, again, if you're playing in the wrong ballpark, some of those home runs can really come back to bite you. So if I'm to look at the 2009 Yankees as a whole, I have them grading out at a very good score of a 4.1 out of 5. This is a very, very good Strat-O-Matic team. The issues that you would want to address if you are playing with them and you're playing the advanced version where you have the ballpark effect home runs and everything else. First of all, when it comes to the defense, and I hinted at this a little bit earlier, if you want to shore up your outfield defense a little bit, I would just go ahead and play Brett Gardner in center field over Melky Cabrera because having the two in center field kind of takes the stink off a little bit of having a 4 and a 3 in left field and right field, respectively. And then maybe if you want to, you could maybe use Melky as a defensive replacement for Johnny Damon late in the game. But if you don't want the 4 out there in left field, and frankly, I don't think there is really much of a difference when it comes to the offense that you get. Well, actually, there is a little bit of a drop off when you go to if you play Guardy in center field over Melky. But if you want to shore up your defense, I would just drop that suggestion and play Brett Gardner in center field over Melky Cabrera. Another suggestion that I would drop when it comes to the Yankee lineup, especially when you're facing right-handed pitchers, I would look into moving Robinson Cano up in the lineup because according to the Strat-O-Matic book, they have him hitting seventh against righties, and his hits with multiple base advancement can really help you out. So that's one suggestion when it comes to filling out the lineup. The other suggestion that I would probably drop as well is I would strongly suggest when you're facing left-handed pitching, I would move Nick Swisher up to number two in the lineup behind Jeter and maybe drop Damon down towards the bottom of the lineup because you can see Swisher has excellent numbers when it comes to getting on base against left-handed pitching. Just checking the Stratomatic book, they have Swisher hitting. Let's see, they have him hitting six against left-handed pitching, but I dropped that suggestion, especially if you're playing with the '09 Yankees and you're facing like a really, really tough left-handed pitcher who's very stingy at allowing base runners. So I would definitely look into moving Swisher up in the order against left-handed pitching. So that's my report on the 2009 World Series champion New York Yankees. They grade out at a very, very good score of a 4.1 out of 5. Once again, I thank you all for watching. It is greatly appreciated. And stay tuned for my next team analysis, which will be on the 2004 World Series champion Boston Red Sox. Have a good day, everyone.